The upcoming Killing Floor 3 looks like it is either going to be a absolutely amazing game or a absolutely horrible Payday 3 level flop. I'm making this recording right after watching the Making of Killing Floor 3 PC Gamer documentary from Tripwire's YouTube channel. I will have a link to that down in the description. So let's go ahead and get started about why I'm nervous about this game, whether or not it will be good. So we're going to start with one of the more obvious things, and that is graphics. Graphically, this game looks amazing running on Unreal 5. It graphically looks amazing. What do you want me to say? There's going to be a lot of blood and gore from what we've seen, from what we've heard. There's going to be a bit more of a focus on dismemberment, like being able to shoot a Zed's arm off or something like that, and it's just dripping blood or squirting blood, and the Zeds just keep coming. That's something they've discussed that they've added. They've put a lot of focus onto that, and the game will actually be introducing crawlers. I don't think Tripwire had said anything about this publicly earlier, but there will now be crawler Zeds. Like in Call of Duty Zombies, if you blow a zombie's leg off, they turn into a crawler. This will be added to at least some Zeds in Killing Floor 3. The only one they explicitly came out and said, you can do it to this Zed is the cyst. I assume you'll probably be able to do it to some of the weaker Zeds. I doubt you could do it like a flesh pound, but some of the weaker Zeds, I assume you can make crawlers. And something I am a little skeptical about is the soundtrack, seeing as how the only confirmed musician, the only confirmed musician we know will be working on the soundtrack so far is Rocky Gray, who is a good musician, but Killing Floor just isn't going to be the same without like Synthetic, Demon Hunter, Impending Doom. I haven't seen any note about Demon Hunter or Impending Doom. I did try to reach out to a couple of the band members with no response. I did some asking around about Synthetic, and from what I understand, the only reason he was there in the first two games was he knew someone who was high up on the Tripwire chain of command, and whenever that guy left, Synthetic, well, the connection just wasn't there anymore. So that's some of the more obvious stuff out of the way. Going into what is the biggest issue that like 95% of the Killing Floor fan base is having with this issue is that it's going to be a hero shooter. All right, Tripwire, this isn't Garden Warfare. You're not Garden Warfare. You're not Overwatch. You're not Concord. We all saw what happened to the last big hero shooter. It flopped within a month of release and cost Sony $400 million or something like that. Tripwire, we don't want a hero shooter. Okay. And it would have been one thing if Killing Floor was a hero shooter from the start, but that's kind of just spitting in the faces of your old fans. It's like, oh, hey, we don't care about what you guys want. We're trying to attract a new audience. All right, that's kind of how it feels like. And there is no way that Tripwire has not seen all the social media, the YouTube comments, people discussing this, how we don't want to be a hero shooter. There is no way that Tripwire is not aware that their fan base is saying, no, we don't want this. I have no idea why they're doing this. So basically, it was initially going to be even worse, too. It was going to be like weapons were going to be locked to the specific perk that you chose. Like, let's say you chose medic, you could not use a support gun, or you couldn't use a sharpshooter weapon. Thankfully, they did say at some point that they decided to not do that, which was a genius move. Like, it was stupid to even think that was going to fly in the first place. But basically, like I said, it was initially going to be even worse. But now it's going to be locking perks to a specific character. So basically, if you want to play as a support, you have to choose whatever the support character is. If you want to play as a medic, you have to choose whatever the medic character is. You can't just be like, oh, okay, well, I want to be this character because I like the quotes that this character has. I like the character design, and I want to play as what do I feel like playing as today? I'm going to play as a firebug, you know. And then you might be like, I'm going to play a medic next round. Now it's going to be like, no, you are going to be stuck with a like whatever character you want. You have to choose whatever specialist perk they are. And this does raise a question of, is this game going to have a limited character roster? Because right off the top of my head, there's only 10 specialist perks right off the top of my head in Killing Floor 1 and 2. So unless they're adding additional perks, or is there just going to be a small character roster and you only have a handful of characters to choose from? I would like to note that Antler Rive, my favorite character, has not been confirmed, which is a little disappointing. And one thing that I find really, that I think is going to really take away from Killing Floor 3 is that each specialist basically comes with a get out of jail free card power, kind of like in Call of Duty World War II. It's like you got this get out of jail free card, you're backed in a corner. I think Mr. Foster has like a drone that'll just mow down a horde of Zeds in front of him. Yeah, I think another character has like explosives they can leave on walls or something like that. And it's like that is just going to take so much away from Killing Floor. And like going back to Call of Duty World War II, that took away from the game to an extent because it made the game so much easier. That's one of the reasons that I'm really good at Call of Duty World War II because it's so much easier compared to the other Call of Duty, well, the earlier Call of Duty games before they introduced specialist perks, before they introduced a get out of jail free card system. Now, maybe if the specialist items weren't like overpowered, but like I already mentioned, they've already said Mr. Foster's drone, which is like one of the few items they've confirmed is basically an overpowered little helper, which will just mow down a horde. Maybe if it was something like the Molotov cocktails from Skur Ritual, you just toss it on the ground and like all the zombies within like a 2 foot radius of you die. It doesn't really help you out that much, but it helps you out just enough to maybe let you find a little opening in there somewhere. And this is really just going to take away from the challenge and the desperation that Killing Floor is supposed to provide a player with. It's almost like they're just holding the player's hand. It's like, hey there, little buttercup. Oh, you're backed in a corner. Don't worry. You got this little perk. You got a drone. You got whatever it is they're going to give you. Hey, don't worry about this horde. We got your back covered, little pumpkin. And something else that I am very skeptical about is weapon customization. Tripwire has made it very clear that this game is going to have a lot of weapon customization. And I think the idea of this is honestly really good. Like letting the player, customize their weaponry to their liking, but it does look a little overpowered in some ways, like being able to have like flame rounds or attach like a flamethrower as a underbarrel attachment to a shotgun. I think that was something they specifically stated in their most recent video. That sounds like that could be a little overpowered to me, a little greasy. And this also raises a question of, will you have to pay extra for these things? Will this be a microtransaction infested game? I don't think that's the sort of stuff they're going to come out and say, oh, by the way, we're going to have a crap ton of microtransactions, because obviously if they said that, no one's going to want to play their game. And as long as this isn't like abused, I think this could be a very, very good thing that would really help Killing Floor, as long as it's not abused. One of the guys, I can't remember who it was, but he said in the video you'll be able to like unlock mods by collecting resources that Zeds drop. That I'm not really sure what to think about that. That almost makes me think of Black Ops Cold War zombies, of how like how they added zombies dropping stuff that you could pick up and use to build items. I don't know. I'm skeptical on this one. We'll just have to wait and see. Something else I'm a little skeptical on is the they're changing the environments. It almost looks like they're trying to make it a parkour shooter in some ways, or at least have some parkour elements. They've added zip lines, which in theory actually look pretty cool. But I think this is also going to be another get out of jail free card thing, because apparently at least one specialist can just deploy a zip line and just fly out of a tough situation, which again is really going to take away from the challenge that is killing floor. You can't just, you know, snap your fingers and escape from your enemies, which is basically what the zip line is going to be doing. And talking a bit more about the parkour elements. I mean, I don't have anything against a parkour shooter. I think like a game such as Severed Steel is a awesome parkour shooter, but I really don't know how well this is going to fit into Killing Floor. They've how do I word this? Like basically in previous Killing Floor, you're basically stuck on the ground. All right, there's nothing for you to climb. You're stuck on the ground. I mean, you can kind of jump around a little bit, but they're adding the ability to just climb on things, like climb walls, jump out of windows, uh, climb onto various platforms that the game provides, and kind of just jump around them. Which again, it sounds like this could be almost like a get out of jail free card. It's like you got a horde of Zeds coming upon you, and you're like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna climb up on this thing and then jump away. Haha, they can't get me now. And just a recurring theme that I'm kind of skeptical about is it almost looks like they're trying to make the game easier, maybe to attract a wider audience. This is something that they almost seem to hint at in their most recent video. They were like, oh, we think these are things that new players will like about the game. And I'm kind of like, okay, but what about your loyal fan base who's been there to back you? So again, with the parkour elements, and they've also added the ability to slide, kind of like in I don't know, Black Ops 3, they add the ability to slide. I don't really know if that's going to add too much to the game or not, but that's something that's been added. And but there is kind of a counterweight to all this, because in some ways, the game looks like it might be a bit more challenging than previous games. For starters, apparently the Flesh Pound is going to be able to break through walls. So let's just say you're just standing in a store. All right, one of the maps is a store, and then suddenly a Flesh Pound can just break through a wall to your right and just complete surprise attack you. Maybe I misunderstood what they were saying, but from what they were saying and from what they showed, that's how I interpreted it. That the Flesh Pound will be able to now just he's almost like a bulldozer. He can just juggernaut his way through a wall, and they have added a ranged attack to the cyst. That's something that I think could definitely make the game a bit more challenging. Although I haven't seen anything about the Siren. I'm guessing they kind of just pushed her out because they've got another Zed with a ranged attack now. And one thing that they said is that this is going to have a lot more Zeds at once. Like, you're going to have to deal with way more enemies, but they also seem to look like they're going to be a bit more slower moving. Like, you're going to have a bigger horde, but it almost doesn't look like they're going to be as big of a threat because they're a bit slower moving. Maybe they just didn't show enough footage, and I'm misinterpreting that as well, but that's kind of the way it looks like. And of course, the Scrake now has a hook in which he can just, reach out and grab you and pull you into a horde. And one thing that I didn't notice until one of the developers pointed out in the video was that previously, as a whole, all Zeds had approximately the same height. So if you had a horde, you kind of just aim in a general head height area and just start peppering off rounds. And now they've made some more height differences. So that'll be a bit harder to do because you're gonna have to focus a bit more on going, from a Scrake's height level to assist height level. So there almost seems to be a counterweight. You know, because it seems like, yeah, there are a lot of things that are going to make the game easier, it seems, but there are also going to be some things which might make it a bit more challenging, which appears to make it a bit more challenging. We'll really just have to see. Personally, I haven't decided if I'm going to buy it on day one yet or not. Probably not. I might. I still haven't made up my mind yet. We'll just have to wait and see. Now, of course, if Tripwire was to say, "All right, we listened to y'all, to y'all. This isn't going to be a hero shooter. We've scrapped that idea," they've got my money day one. All right, if they come out and say that, if they say, "All right, screw it, it's not a hero shooter. We're sorry," they've got my money day one. But until then, I'm just going to be skeptical. I'm just going to keep, seeing what they have to say about the game, what new features they might reveal. But what do y'all think of this? I mean, like I said, I'm kind of skeptical about a lot of things. Some things look great, some things don't look so great. What do y'all think? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I'd love to hear it. Jesus loves you all very much. And for anyone new here, I mostly play, review, and discuss zombie and horror games, so feel free to check out some of my other content if that sounds interesting. I'll likely be making some more videos on Killing Floor 3 as we continue to get more news. But thanks again for watching, y'all. Peace.